special guest. I've known this young lady for years, since she was young.
I'm still young.
She's still young. When they say black don't crack,
Hey,
this is the one right
shiver
here.
all day.
We've got a special guest today, all the way from London. We're in London.
Saf, dirty Saf.
That's right. Magda. How you been, sister? Give her a clap. That's right.
Are you guys gonna make me blush?
Yeah.
I'm blushing now. I'm blushing. Yeah, no, I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Long time no see.
It has been a little while, you know. We used to watching you on Insta singing, doing your thing. They brought me a bit of memory back, and which was amazing. But how's everything? How's lockdown life 2021? How's it been for you so far?
So 2020, which feels like it was so long ago. For me, lockdown, I know this sounds, obviously I know people have gone through it. People have lost people, etc., as have I. But it's been a real soul-searching experience for me. So I'm someone who is here, there, everywhere, always about doing stuff. And it just gave me an opportunity to slow down. And actually the song I've been listening to the most has been Slow Down by Skip Marley. Because it was just a moment in time to kind of just pause, and it was an opportunity to say no to things that I didn't realize I needed to do, because I think I'm a busy person and I enjoy it. But yeah, so it was an opportunity to just find more of myself, do things I didn't think I could do, like DIY. So I've been doing a lot of that.
I've seen you.
Reconnecting. And then obviously like last year was the Black Lives Matter, the second movement. And so it was an opportunity to just, you know, be the change I want to see and be part of that.
It's been very soul searching moment.
Yes, 100%. I'd say Ashe, which just basically is, yeah, I've been soul searching and getting closer to my intentions and like, yeah, what it is I want to be and do. Brilliant.
Before we go forward and start talking to the main subject, I want to go back, because you know what? I remember.
Nostalgia.
Yep. I remember when Magda used to sing. She was on TV. She came to a lot of shows. She was a star. She was. And how was that for you?
That was cool. You know what? I grew up. So the kind of parents I was raised by were the kind of parents that just went with whatever I said I was going to do. So if I said I was going to be a footballer, they would have been like, okay, be the best footballer. And I would have played for Man United. But I basically, you haven't won anything in a while. Anyway, no. So basically my parents were the kind of parents where they just let me do what I wanted to do, which was, I wouldn't say is uncommon as in a Habesha community, but I do think they just, as long as I put my heart to it, I could do whatever I wanted to do. And so for me, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to university, but at the same time, I'm going to do music. So I recorded my first song when I was 16 or 17, and my parents went in half on the studio.
Oh, really?
With me. Yeah. So I had a job. My first job was paper round when I was 12, and so I'd been saving to record and to do stuff, and I knew I wanted to do music. I wrote my first song at 5 about my brother who had died when I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
And so music was something, my dad had records, he played vinyls. My first record that I bought was Bob Marley and the Wailers on tape, and I've still got it somewhere in my house now, and that's like telling my age, 30 years ago I bought that, about almost 30 years ago. And so yeah, I've always loved music. I grew up listening to it, and so eventually I just started writing, singing, performing, and had the opportunity to perform the Eritrean anthem in Eritrea at Sawa. So that was a great experience.
How was that for you?
Oh my God, you know what? It was 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning. I got woken up, hadn't slept. My bus broke down on the way to Sawa. Anyone who has done Sawa is a jugna, just let you know. And I'm not saying the people who have done Sawa for 2 years. I'm just talking about the people who just go for the 4-day trip. Because that was real. I didn't sleep.
So you had to get at 5 o'clock in the morning
to wake up to sing the national anthem. But let me bear in mind, it was a mission to get there, and I was part of the helping organize team or whatever, because I was performing. I didn't eat the whole time I was in Sawa. The only thing I ate.
What, they weren't offering no
food? No, they were. I just weren't trying to get diarrhea. I wasn't trying to have what's up. I was like, so there were only a few things I was rolling with. So I was like, you know, when you're like, to the lady in Sawa, I was like, no shugurti, no gur, no nothing, because I was like, didn't know how they were washing it, and I could not afford to get what's up. I was like, no, not in the middle of the desert. So I was just on mango juice and water until today. that's the story I tell my 5-year-old son. He's like, oh, so mango juice saved your life. I was like, yes, mango juice saved my life.
He's probably looking at your mum is crazy.
I know, but he's been to Eritrea, so I showed him the mango juice that saved my life.
And does he love it?
But I said, yeah, no, he does. But to be honest, Sawa was an experience. It was a beautiful being there with so many other Eritreans from the diaspora. And I think it was that trip. Was it that trip? Yeah, it was that trip that made me change my mind about every subsequent trip I would take to Eritrea. Because I was 22, I was invited to perform, and it was a great experience. It was a very profound experience to perform the national anthem, which I only had a week to learn, and in Tigrinya, and like some of them words you can't even be tayaf with some of them words. You got to say them properly.
You got to be right on point.
I was really trying to get that Tigrinya out.
Look, Futsum said he was there.
Yeah. But it was real. But that trip changed my life, and I guess it changed my life was I was like, before that, I'm not gonna lie, I had done the whole fucking around, going out to Aguadu, going out to all the clubs, and I still did that summer. Don't get it twisted. Like I drank a lot after I sung the national anthem. I was like, had my araki. I don't know, I was doing accents and all sorts in Sawa. It was a great experience. I met so many cool people from different countries, and that's the beauty of going to Eritrea in the summer. But after that trip, I never went in the summer, so I've never been since 22.
Was there a reason for that?
Because I thought, let me not go when there's bare Eritreans from the diaspora. Like, if I want to meet them, I can go. That same year, I went to Sweden. I went to the Swedish festival. I also went to, and this is back in, I'm showing my age. This is back in 2008.
She's only 21.
Yeah. Basically, I've been 21. Actually, I turned 21 that year, I think, as well. Let me do the math, something like that. But anyway, but basically, after that trip, I was a bit like, you know what? I've had my fun. Next time I come back, let me do something a bit more meaningful. So every trip thereafter, I actually started going in January, and it's a beautiful time to go. There's not as many of us, but then I think the next trip after 2008 that I went, that was the last time I saw my granddad, and he was so proud of me. He called me. He was like, whatever you do, and I was like, he's like, and during the national anthem, as I said, the reason I referenced 5 a.m. in the morning, I woke up. There was no, I just barely brushed my teeth, and it was wash my face, had to chuck on my Sawa t-shirt, went and performed. My throat was dry. There's me singing that national anthem. I'm not even going to pretend I remember how it goes. But anyway, I was like, Eritrea, Eritrea. And then at one point, my throat got dry.
No.
Everyone singing with me. My throat got dry. And I was like,
can't even take a little pause and let them sing.
I tried that. I tried to this is disgusting. Tried to create some saliva to get through the song. And then I guess everyone thought I forgot the words, but I hadn't. I was just catching my breath and trying to get some so I could make the notes. And then they all started singing with me, and I just went and I was like, oh my God, they all thought and then I was like, shit, the president is behind me. And I just laughed singing this national anthem that everyone fought 30 years for the independence. And there's me busting up or kind of somewhat laughing. And then I called my granddad after. He was like, Mishileki. And I was like, oh, but and here's me trying to explain with my Tayaf Tigrinya / part English going, oh, but Kamzi, and then every now and then there's a but in my Tigrinya. I'm like, oh, but Kamzi khoine and Tashrim khoine, and Tashrim khoine.
As far as you can say, I told you.
And then but either way, he was so proud. And then I think I was in the newspaper, and he went and bought 100. I had to tell my mum, I was like, I think you're gonna have to send this man some more money, because he went and bought 100 newspapers with me on it. And actually, I just found it yesterday when I was clearing up my house. It was an amazing experience. But my point was that experience was so much fun. I had the best time. And up until that point, I'd been going to Eritrea every year or every other year. So I was quite privileged and to go there. And the year before, I'd went there and sat with my granddad for 2 weeks before my mum came out and learnt my family history and learnt, because I was like, you know what, I really appreciated the things that my granddad had done for my mum. So my mum was his eldest daughter. He educated her even though she was partially blind, and as a result my mum was able to come to England, be a nurse, and she then gave me the life that she gave me. And he wanted to be a doctor, so he lived vicariously through my mum. She wasn't able to be a doctor because of her eyesight, but so I'm always forever indebted. And I think that year was the last year that I saw him alive, and then that kind of prompted me the following year, the year that he died in 2006 and I actually got this tattoo because he had a tattoo across so it to pay homage to my ancestor. And I think since then I thought, you know what, every time I go to Eritrea I'm gonna give back. and I'm going to try to make somewhat of a difference, no matter how small, but recognize my privilege and the privilege that I didn't come to England, but as a result of my mum and dad coming here. So then I finished my degree. I went to America to study, and I worked for a music company out there, did my music out there as well. And I was like, I'm going to try to be everything and anything I can be and put my heart to it, because I know there are like my cousins back home who are getting married same age as me, and that upset me, because I was like, what, they're barely like, they barely know who they are, and they didn't have that opportunity. And I think what the best thing we can do as people living in the diaspora is make the most of the opportunities that present ourselves. Absolutely. You can't pity people. Yeah. And so I don't pity my cousins, but where the opportunity presents itself, I'll obviously go back, give whatever I can give to them, but more importantly to the people of Eritrea. So since that trip, since 2009 or 8, I've been going and helping out at the orphanage in Goraif. And that's been an amazing experience. Got my company to give 5 laptops, and there's also some foster homes. People don't know this, and I wish more people knew and could try to do this more because
let people know.
There are foster homes that sit on the outskirts of Asmara. So there's one in Umbadorho, there is one in Tada Christian, there is one in, I'm testing myself here. There's one in Adigwatdad. They're all over, so the outskirts, the neighbouring like little towns of Asmara. And you basically I just rocked up. I rocked up with like 5 suitcases, and I was early in my pregnancy, so I just found out I was pregnant. I was like, shit. I was like 6 weeks pregnant. Wow. And I was like, shit, I'm going to Eritrea. I was like, do I get the injections? Do I not? Shit, don't want to kill my unborn child. But I was like, you know what? It's for the bigger cause. And so I went there and I met the most amazing children, then created a relationship with the orphanage to help the smaller babies. But equally, I wanted to, So I'll have to give you those details. But basically, sure we can put it down. Basically, I just rocked up, and that's what I would suggest. So, and I now...
You just did your own thing?
Yeah, just went there, and I was like, I've got laptops. I was a bit like, when I went through immigration, I was like, oh, best mum, case was delayed. But then, I was like, I secured it before I went out there as well and spoke to my mum. Yeah, and I just took stuff. I took suitcases, and for the first time, I went to Eritrea with one little suitcase just for me for like 2 weeks. And the smallest suitcase, but all my other suitcases were for the children in the orphanage. And since I've been going, and I took my son in January of last year, before the pandemic, at the start of the pandemic, and we went to the orphanage, and it was an amazing experience. And actually I started looking into adopting a child, because I was like, wow, if I could give back, that would be amazing. And obviously it's very complicated, so
it's amazing. It's amazing
to make people aware.
You really get a chance to hear that. But I want to take it back a little bit.
Yeah, because I didn't really speak about music, did I?
Because you know why? What I wanted to know, when you was doing your music, you was coming on TV, right? Did you realize a lot of people that might be the first time they saw an Eritrean girl, Habesha girl on TV, that could have inspired a lot of people? Because that's the first time you look at, even myself, I'm like, right, Eritrean girl, she's on TV. You get what I mean, though?
Yeah.
A lot of people, when now they're looking at someone like The Weeknd or anybody else. We had Magda back in the day. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh, that's sweet. I got a shout out. If you're shouting me out, I got to shout out somebody else. Her name's Winter. She's from Norway. And her and I have become friends as a result of doing music. And she was out just a bit before me. Mm-hmm. And it was nice to see her out as well. And so I know what that feeling's like, to see someone that looks like you. So big up Winter if you're watching this.
Yeah,
if not,
Winter.
I'm going to forward this to you. But she is from Norway, and she's such a beautiful soul. And we ended up eventually being in New York at the same time, and then also having the same music manager at one point. And also we went to Sweden together in 2013, I want to say. And so I didn't really realize like what it was. And then it's weird because then people Magda Sanit is my middle name, so I'm used to people calling me, who know me, calling me Magda. So when people started like, oh, you're Magda Sanit, and I was like, oh shit, they know me through music. That's kind of why that distinction. And that was kind of surreal, but it was nice, and that's the thing. I think it's there's something in like seeing it and believing it. And now I get really inspired by seeing other Eritrean people who like seeing them, and I'm like, oh wow, it's amazing seeing Eritrean or Ethiopian, just seeing Habesha people in spaces that we're not used to being. And also I think this isn't a sly or a dig at our people, but like we're quite meek when you think of us amongst other African nations. I don't know if it's because of, and I say this more about Eritreans than I feel about Ethiopians, and I think that's a different, there's a bit of history on context to that, but I find that we're quite meek and we don't take up space. And actually, so it's beautiful when you see there's like, I think her name's Yodit Tawalde. I think I might have got her surname wrong, but Yodit, and she's a lawyer in America, and it's amazing seeing, you know, women, Eritrean women, and you know, obviously we were at the forefront of fighting, and that's a beautiful thing as well. And I'm not really a political person, so but I am here for the people. And so when I see women at the forefront, and actually even that picture there with the woman with the gun, and I'm like, oh, actually mothers and women play such an important role in our culture. Whether it's I just learned how to make injera the other day. And so when I'm like, I had to call my mum and be like, but you used to do this on a regular. And I'm like,
never appreciated them.
I loved katanya. That was my favorite thing when I was a kid. When I was like 7, I used to eat dulugh with coleslaw at 7 in a cup. Like I used to love Fridays making katanya. Yeah. That was like my one when my mum made. But I didn't realize the magnitude of making injera. And the other day I was thinking, a random thought. I was just like, shit, how did they eat injera and add this in the war? Like, where did they make the injera? I don't even know where they stored or made the injera.
But it's a big testament to your parents though, because hearing you talk, how from your granddad to your parents to you, it seems that there was a, how can I put it? There was an understanding, there was education going through without saying anything. And it's rich to you, and the way you handled it, going back home, the things that you did, you give him back. I think it always goes back to your granddad. That's what
100%. Yeah, 100%. So like my dad is Wadi Asmara. So he's like, you know, he's bathing in that money. He's from Mendefera. I love the name of that town, like Mendefera. And that sticks with me because I'm like, oh yeah, Mendefera. But it's cool because that is literally me. Like, who can defy her? That's what that means. And there's something so powerful in the name, and in the name of what we're, our own name. So when you call your child, I would like, as a parent, I'm conscious of what I will call my children because it's so much power. And then my mum's from Aden Amman, and that's like her faith, and like that actually I hold that dear. Like I'd call myself quite spiritual, and so I think that holds true to me. And so in terms of my granddad, he was from Hagraseb, and like we all know the whole like, oh, Hagraseb versus Katama, village like village people. But the reality of it is like he had heart, and there's something about him, like he was the youngest son of his family. And so that trip in 2007 when I learned a lot, and I grew up a lot, because before I'd be like, oh, he's from Hagraseb, and you know, we've all been to Hagraseb. I went to Habesha and I was like, where is the toilet? I was like, what, there? And I was like, no, but where's the door, and where's the, no, I couldn't handle. Yeah. Where's the tissue? All of that. So I was a bit of a snob going back to Eritrea, and then eventually you grow up a bit in it, and you grow up and you realize actually this is my culture. This is who I am. These are my people. This is my tribe. And for me, I think at some point there was a rude awakening that was just a bit like, I know I am where I am, and I'm going to make the most of the privilege that I have. And, you know, at the moment we all hear about white privilege or whatever, as far as Black Lives Matter and as far as the race relations and stuff like that. But there's also Habesha privilege, like growing up and living in the diaspora, like you have a privilege, and they don't call us Bellas for nothing.
Ooh,
like
explain to the people what Bellas means.
So Bellas, I actually don't like Bellas. I just got a caveat that. Like I think I had it once and I was like, this ain't for me. But Bellas is people who basically live in the diaspora, grew up in the diaspora, and you go back to Eritrea in the summer. So I'm no longer a Bellas because I don't go back in summer. I don't know what they would call me, but I'm no longer Bellas because I don't do the summer trips. I might do a summer trip one day. But I guess Bellas is people who go back in the summer because the fruit Bellas grows. It's like a fig, innit? It's actually, it comes out in the summertime. Yeah. And actually it's mad. I didn't realize Bellas is in bare different countries. Yeah. They have it in Belize. They have it in South America, in Jamaica. Yeah, in different names in different countries. But yeah, so I'm no longer a Bellas, just saying. But but I don't know, at some point, it definitely does come back from my granddad. I got a lot of respect for him, and the fact that he banked on my mum as a woman. She's the eldest daughter, and she was a woman. And so I don't believe in feminism or modern day feminism because I think it excludes black women. But I feel like my granddad was a feminist because he was maybe ahead of his time. Yeah, he was ahead of his time. The fact that he invested in my mum, like that was, and the thing is, we all know, like, people, I grew up in and did geography at school, and I remember one girl being like, oh, I think in Africa, the reason they have so many kids is because they don't have contraception. I was like, no, it's not that, love. And also Africa is a continent, not a country. So let's just break that down first and foremost. And this was before like countries like Namibia and South Sudan. So I was like, excuse me, there are 50 countries in Africa. Let's just break that down. I was like, it's not.
Preach.
And I was in secondary school, but I was like, actually, it's more about economical wealth. It's an economical decision that you'll have 10 children, 5 may die, the other 5 will live on, and they'll go on to be your investment and your legacy because
Absolutely.
they will.
And this is what people don't understand.
Having children was a financial and economical thing. It's more of a necessity than it is of. I'd like to think they were enjoying themselves when breeding, but.
They put the extra work.
I don't even want to think about. I was going to say something inappropriate, but I couldn't find the Tagunya words to say. No, Dahan.
No, but I get the understanding. You've been back home. You've seen it. You've done a show. You've been on national TV. Now you work for, I believe.
Yeah, it's Hearst Magazine. So it's a media company. So they do magazines like Men's Health, Women's Health. And yes, I've been there for, I feel old. I've been there for almost 8 years, and I've worked in magazines. I used to work for a boxing magazine before that, one of the world's oldest boxing magazines, and like an MMA.
So how did you get from boxing magazine to that type of magazine?
Well, it's all publishing. It's all relative. It's all the same. So after uni, actually, I did music. And I worked for a music company, a couple of music companies, one in the UK, one in America. So it was music publishing. And so at uni, I did radio, I did PR and radio broadcasting, and I was still doing my music. And I had like 3 jobs because I was trying to move to America. So I was like, I might as well just
Making
start.
That money,
I might as well, no. I was like, I might as well get myself ready for real American life because they work 3 jobs. So I was working at a few different places whilst also performing to kind of help me financially. And then also because I was doing my music and stuff like that. And then when I came back, worked in the music industry, artist management, and it was great, but music, there isn't a lot of money in it, and there isn't in terms of, there wasn't at the time, and it was a great opportunity, but then I just accidentally fell into the role into the boxing magazine, and I remember the guy hiring me, and he was like, so, but you like music, how's this gonna work? I was like, trust me, I'm passionate about anything and everything, and I loved boxing as a kid. I loved Lennox Lewis, I loved Chris Eubanks.
She knows about boxing.
Yeah, oh my God, I love boxing. Don't get me started. My favourite boxer right now is Canelo Alvarez, but he's been that for like 10 years. I loved Canelo when he came out, but I love boxing, so I got into it and I enjoyed it, but then it just flipped, and then I just, once you work for one magazine company, it's quite easy to move to another. And yes, I've been there for 8 years, and my role is like senior partnerships manager. So I look after a number of their apps. I look after relationships that they have with banks and stuff, because it's all subscriptions. So while doing that, as well as that, I'm very passionate about everyone having a place and taking up space, particularly black people, because I didn't see myself on the cover of magazines, and I didn't see myself in the offices. That wasn't going to prohibit me from going there, but I wanted to take that same kind of I guess that passion that my granddad had to propel my mum. I was like, well, that's what I'm taking in with me. I don't see myself represented, but I'm going to be there and take up space. And so I'm part of the diversity and inclusion committee that we have to ensure that there's representation, but also mental health as well. So I'm a mental health ambassador.
Oh, that's amazing to hear.
And because it's important to me, and like, one, because of my own experience with mental health from after having a child, but then equally someone in my immediate family has mental health issues, and growing up in the Eritrean community where mental health isn't something that we talk about.
We don't talk about it
at all, and it's like a unicorn. It doesn't exist, or you send them much or hot, whatever they say, or much or hot, or and they're like.
Do you think is that because of lack of education, or is it just we just don't know how to deal with it, so we just put it under the carpet and just sweep it along?
I think it's a combination of stuff. So this year, so we were talking about like 2020, what 2020 taught me, and I think it taught me that we have generational trauma. And so that's really deep. We all have childhood trauma. It might not feel like we do, but you behave out of trauma, and it's your coping mechanism that you have as a child. So and it manifests itself in different ways. You maybe recognize it when you have your own children and you come to parent in your child, or alternatively when you're in a relationship, that shit really comes out, because then you're like, shit, I'm my mother or I'm my father, like, which isn't a bad thing, but we take on traits naturally. You take on traits of your family, but I think it's a combination. So I was lucky, my mum worked in the NHS, but even then I think she was oblivious. So it's actually one of my older sisters has mental health issues, and she was oblivious, or didn't want to acknowledge it, and she'll admit that today, that it took her a while to acknowledge. But I think going back to the being meek, we also have a fear of what other people think. We live in a society where, and it's because we've ingrained it in ourselves, like, what did such and such, and we measure each other against each other. It's like a competition.
Has that changed though now? I'm talking about to someone like you or someone like me, to the next generation, or is it still going on the full circle?
I don't know, because I think my generation are only just having children. So like I've got a 5-year-old, so I'm not going to be doing that. But also that's a part of breaking generational curse and generational trauma. We need to recognize that, and actually generational trauma goes back 8 generations, and we need to recognize that the way that our parents parented us is as a result of how they were parented, and they were parented under circumstances like a war. And also our parents, the way that they've parented us, and I'm saying myself, and I'm sure other people might relate to this, is they've come to this country and they're having to start again.
Yep.
And so they're carrying their own emotions.
So do we have responsibility understanding how they are?
I think we have a responsibility to understand who we are. And as a result of learning more about who you are as a person, you can then go back and you can forgive your parents for certain shortcomings, because you know that whilst they should have known better, they weren't in a position to. And so, we have a lot of cultural pressures as well. And actually I recognize that part of that is like, you have to set boundaries. So like, my parents don't always understand when I say no, like that, like no is like what no doesn't exist in our community, but
especially
actually
the family
unit. Yeah. But that is a lot sometimes to always say yes. That's a lot, and that can take a toll on you. And I think I'm by default, I think I'm a people pleaser, and I always say yes, and I say, oh, had I, but actually that can be to the detriment of myself, even to my relationship, even to my child. And also I just think that, I think mental health is something that we haven't really, I think we're just scratching the surface. So there's some great like resources. So Eri Wellbeing is one that I think is amazing, and I would highly recommend you guys get them on here, because they deal with they're having hard-hitting conversations about like trauma and just about cultural, a lot of things that happen in our community that we don't always acknowledge. So whether it's post-traumatic post-traumatic stress, or whether it's postpartum, or just PTSD. Like some of our parents were in the war. There's those emotions. Like, did they ever deal with those? Like, here, if you're in the war or you're in the army in England, they have PTSD. They have you get sent off. You go to our fathers, our uncles, our mums. They didn't have that. So actually, they just had to deal. Yeah, they had to learn to be resilient. But also, I think this is the thing, and I think this about Eritrean people. There's a difference. Like we are resilient, but that can also be avoidant. Yeah. So you can avoid dealing with your shit.
But that hinders us in a lot of ways, though.
Yeah, but some people are like, that's strong. Which is great, but being strong isn't always a good thing. It's okay to be vulnerable, it
makes sense to me, because sometimes there's a moment we've seen in our community, like you said, it can hinder us, or the way we communicate with our kids, our friends, a whole community. To me, I think we need more help, and it's great that you're talking about it, because this type of conversation can spark a conversation, or there's someone out there that can have the same situation problem that can help them. Because sometimes you need a little encouragement, or you need to hear it from someone like you, and then they'd be like, "Oh, do you know what? This is right. This is what it could be." So it can spark that conversation.
Yeah, that's how I found out that I was struggling with stress and anxiety, and I'm quite open about the fact that I've gone through that, because I think actually I could help someone, and actually it's just a revelation. That's why it's amazing to have friends and like-minded people around you, because all it takes sometimes is a conversation and they'd be like, oh shit, that's how I was feeling. And that's actually literally what happened to me. My friend said, oh, she's feeling stress and anxiety, and I was like, oh, describe those symptoms. And I was like, oh shit, that's me. And then I realized, and then afterwards I took the necessary steps to find help. But then equally, I remember telling my dad, and he's like, oh, you could see me, I look okay, and etc. But so I think we definitely, like, when it comes to mental health, we're only just scratching the surface in general in life.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a new conversation, but it's even a newer conversation in our community where our parents weren't awarded the opportunity to stop and feel. They were on like, okay, war. Okay, now I've got to leave my country. I've got to,
so much
to
pressure
survive.
to deal with.
So many survival instincts. That's what they were on. So that didn't award them the opportunity to feel those emotions.
I want to do something, right? We've been hearing your voice. For those youngsters that don't know, I'm going to put you in a spot right now, right? Can we hear something?
You want me to sing?
Yes, why not? So those youngsters that never heard, there are some youngsters out there that have never heard Magda sing. So
she made me feel old, man.
No.
I'm already gonna be a bit old in August.
You're only 21.
Yeah, that's true. I got ID today though at Sainsbury's, buying a bottle of wine. Hey.
When they say black don't crack.
Hey, it's that sheer butter skin.
So.
Oh, you really want me to sing? You're not even playing.
Man. Yeah, I'm not even playing.
Are you gonna suggest a song? Or
anything that makes you feel comfortable.
Oh, should we do some nostalgia, right? So 2007, Miss Eritrea. Mm-hmm. I think I also sang Alicia Keys.
Listen, you smashed it. That's all I know.
Shit. All right. So, I'm on the spot now.
Take your time. Anything.
Yeah, I'll do a cappella. I just got to remember the words. Okay. Some people live for the fortune. Some people live just for the fame. Some people live for the power. Some people live just to play the game. Some people think that the physical things define what's within. And I've been there before. That life's a bore, so full of the superficial. Here we go. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby.
Woo! Listen, we need to do a petition. Bring Magda back to singing. Bring it back to the studio. That's what we need to do.
I just sing in the shower now. Yeah. I sing for my 5-year-old son. He's like, "Mummy, please stop singing." But he wants to be a rapper.
People need to hear you now. Yeah, why not? He could be the rapper. He could be the singer.
He likes Nipsey Hussle.
Really?
Yeah. He listens to Nas a lot. To be fair, I need to stop playing Nipsey Hussle because I played it the other day, and I think it's the new one with Jay-Z. And he was like, "Niggas can't swim, niggas can't win." I was like, "But mom, no more Nipsey Hussle."
Oh wow.
And I was like, I think I listened to too much hip hop in front of my son. No. I love music. It's just been a minute, but music is my first love. Like
I think it's in you. I think if you was to ask me, it's in you, it's in your voice. It's something you should never stop. I don't care how old you are, how young you are, until the day you die. I think you should just, you know what I mean? And it could be someone out there you can inspire with your voice. It could be that one person. I think it's worth it. I think you should go back and start doing your singing.
Oh, thank you. Music's my therapy though. Like literally, if I'm feeling down, I have a song for every situation. I have a song for every guy I've ever liked. I have a song for everything.
Not every guy's going, what?
What's my song?
They all want to call now. Yeah. You know what the funny thing is? She was singing and then I see her finger moving. I'm like, am I supposed to sing? If
it ain't you, baby.
Boy. I'm about to break people's ear.
I'm playing. Don't let me start the rumors.
Deep voice, man. Yeah.
You're gonna do your Habesha Barry one.
Yeah.
Luame ane malet sahi malet tane tabahilna. I'm like, he's trying to be wanted to come out here, but he's got lines though. He's like Luame ane malet sahi malet tane. Woo! I'm like, say Magda. No, that's what I was saying to you earlier. Can I just ask? Can I ask you a question? Can we flip this interview? Do Habesha guys? I just want to know because I'm sure the ladies like. How do you guys spit game into Grinyo? Like when you guys are doing your thing, whatever your thing might be, are you like Auntie Shukure? Like I just want to know because like, obviously I've dated a few Eritrean guys or whatever in my time, kissed a few frogs. But like they've mostly been either like maybe American or English. They're like, yeah, what's going on, babes? You right? And I'm like, okay, but right. But like guys in Asmara, they're like Shukorina, atin tsabuti. How does a London guy?
I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think how I speak to my wife, right?
Yeah. How did you catch her? What did you say?
I can't remember.
You didn't even say tsabuti. Or do you ever call her tsabuti now?
Do you know what? It's weird because the first thought that comes, I don't really speak it in Tigrinya.
Yeah.
It's
You
weird.
think in English.
So I'm thinking English, so I speak in English. And the only time I got a bit start thinking was her mum goes, you know what? I think you've ruined her Tigrinya.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, no, because you know what it is with her, I've always telling her she's got great words with Tigrinya, but my accents are better than hers.
Oh, so she's got okay, and then
but
not pronunciation.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I don't know, but I can't imagine like me and my missus getting trying to be a bit romantic.
Yeah, because I just think Tigrinya, like growing up, Tigrinya for me, as much as I love it, and I said to you earlier, language connects you to your culture. So for me, I'm Eritrean and part Ethiopian, but I connect more with my Eritrean side. One, because I know Asmara like the back of my hand, and also language connects you.
Yeah.
And like, so for me, I feel like it'd be weird being like, even when I'm like, if a guy was like, oh, so how do you say a non-Eritrean guy? So how do you say?
Tigrinya is not romantic.
Sexy, innit? Yeah, but it's
if I tell my wife, no, kid it, good night. She probably likes it.
Yeah. She's like,
she probably loves it.
I don't know what you two get up to, but what do you do? I think, you know, rather than saying whereas I think Haranya's a little sexier. It's like, you know, onjo,
there you go.
Whereas Tigrinya's like, I think, No, but I think also, I don't know, because Tigrinya, like for me growing up, I don't know, I'm sure this is the same for other people. You got told off in Tigrinya, innit?
Yeah.
Like, I think, yeah. And then the one thing that gets me about Tigrinya is when they cuss you. And I'm like, when my mum said, or when she's like,
you know how deep that is?
Do you know how deep that is?
English,
oh my God. Or when there's like,
you know that?
Like, even in Amhariya, there's one that's like, Minabate. And I'm like, that's who's your dad? Wait, babes, you tell me who's my dad. I remember my mum said, Gwalzala Manit. And I went to her once. Oh, I didn't realize my mum was a beggar. She was like, and I don't know about this if everyone else's household, but if we were running Eritrean jokes, did you ever have like, I had a mohos, which was like,
really?
Yeah, but that was the one you got hit with, innit? Or the one that came out before you did Timberkha. Everyone's got to know Timberkha. I do it with my son and he's 5.
You do it with your son?
Yeah, but I don't do it the full-on style.
Try to pass it the tradition.
Well, if I can't beat him, because you know I ain't having social services tell me off. I can't beat him. I can at least discipline him the way I was raised. He don't like Timberkha. The way he comes out of that is like crying. But I was just gonna say the way they used to cuss you. But this mohos in my house was called hagosa.
Ah,
that's deep.
Why?
Because I would get beat with a hagosa. That's gonna bring me joy. Hagosa means joy. Hagosa, yeah, hagosa. My mum's like wooden stick that she would also cook everything with was called hagosa, joy.
So by beating you is gonna get you joy.
Mate, joy brought me no joy. She brought me
wow.
She brought me tears. But I just think when you think about, and I love talking to other Eritreans, I don't know about you, but when you realize how they used to get disciplined and beat in their house, and when your mom's like, I'm like, jeez, oh my God.
Imagine, we're
like
chilly.
When they say,
you don't realize,
I was like,
chilly.
Yeah. And I was one of them kids who would talk back. And my mum worked for the health service. So if her friend was
It's
like,
all those singers, bruv. They're always talking
no.
back.
No. I was just an outspoken child. Like when somebody who wasn't my parent tried to discipline me, I was like, one guy at my mum's church was like, oh, how boy. I was like, well, actually, how boy is this person, this person, this person, and this person. So technically, you're not actually my uncle. And then he was
But
like,
in that community, everybody's your uncle, everybody's your
but
cousin.
I think that's a bit dangerous, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm not sure. Like, I think we should respect our elders, but I think one of the things our culture sometimes doesn't teach is boundaries. And we were saying earlier about not saying no. And like, it's really hard to say no. So you put yourself, and actually, I don't know if you find this because you're married, but like it has a strain on your relationship as well when you can't say no and you're culturally obligated to stuff. And it's whether, is it an obligation or is it a choice? So you're doing it out of choice. And I know that obviously our parents did a lot for us, so we respect them, and there's traditions and cultures. And whilst I'm very Western and I'm very open-minded and I'm, you know, I'd like to think of myself as independent, outspoken woman, but equally I hold on to some of my traditions, but some of them traditions can be quite dangerous. So like saying to a child, you know, like, oh, and like that's, you shouldn't tell your children everyone's their uncle, because you're not going to leave them with everyone, and that opens up different shit. I don't want to get into that, not for today, but that can also open up like that comfortableness, and you're not, actually you're not teaching your children about boundaries as well with their space and like respecting their space. So my son, especially COVID now, I don't know if he's like proper like, but even when he sees me see Eritreans, he's like, Mummy, remember it's COVID, they are Habesha, but don't know. I'm like, all right.
You see everyone hugging each other.
Yeah, but I don't do that anyway. But also, I don't really like kissing everyone and anyone, to be fair, anyway, pre-COVID. But obviously there's a cultural respect, so you say hello. But I've learned not to also go, oh yeah, hug that person, because if he doesn't want to, and I'm saying hug that person, how am I then going to tell him if someone touches him or someone does something, say no, because I'm blurring them lines. And I think them lines were a little blurred for me as well. But my mum, again, because she worked in the health service, she'd be like to my sisters, don't ever sit on a guy's lap. And I was like, well, why should she keep telling us this? Like, or don't whatever sit on anyone's lap that isn't your dad or whatever. And she's like, even your dad, like my mum was over because she saw that stuff and was trying to protect us. But then I think a bit like mental health, we don't have some of them conversations about protecting yourself or in family situations. And like, I only learned last year or the year before that there's a lot of like, you know, assault that happens in our community that we don't know about, and a lot of like we don't talk about it, and a lot of like sometimes like perversion that we like that we just brush under the carpet, but it's real.
I think that's what's getting us into trouble. We brush everything under the carpet. We don't really talk about it. Yeah, and it piles up, and when thing goes wrong, it's too late. Healthy communication is key. And I think, you know what, sometimes we didn't see that. And this goes back to even the relationships we see with our parents. Like our parents, some of them were arranged marriages, some of them were like marriages through convenience, or, you know, they were tagadalai, and they were out there, and then, you know, that's a convenient whatever. And then also circumstance, and also, you know, in a lot of cases, some women have come, the man is the breadwinner, and they've come and they're, you know, they're subservient to that man because of he's the one going out there, they're raising the children, and there's that power dynamic and that shift. And sometimes even now, I think we were saying earlier about how Eritrean women are really doing it for themselves, and there's that shift there as well, and there's that power dynamic between relationships between Eritrean men and women. And obviously I can't speak to that fully because I'm single, but also not in a relationship with an Eritrean guy or Habesha guy, for that matter. So are you single looking for someone? Am I single looking to me? Shall we put it out there? No. I'm in a relationship with myself, and that looks good to me for now. No, this isn't a broadcast. you might find my profile on Jebana, but I've not used it. I made it for a joke with my cousins. And it's anyone out there? No. She's single. No, I'm not. Please don't slide into my DMs. Slide. But you know what I want to go a bit further is, you spoke about the community, because I feel like you're the person, you know the community, you've been around the community, you've been outside the community, you communicate with people who are not in the community. Now going back, we spoke a bit early on, how as Habesha people do we see ourselves? There's a lot of questions being raised. Some of them, they consider themselves not to be black, right? Some of them, for some reason, we're Africans, but they don't really see themselves as African, right? I feel like, where do you see that coming from, or what is your opinion on that? Okay, so first and foremost, I'm pan-African, so I am a black woman. Jeez. Yeah, that's how I define myself.
But if you ask me where I'm from, I'll say I'm from Eritrea and Ethiopia. Like wherever I am in the world, I'll say I'm Eritrean and Ethiopian because that's what I connect with. And as I said earlier, I feel more Eritrean than I do Ethiopian. But that's just because of how I was raised, etc. But that's still a fact that I am. And so for me, I grew up listening to as a description, or that black person as a description for people who weren't Habesha. And obviously this term Habesha, obviously I know there's like people have issues with it politically, but politics aside, that term Habesha refers to people of mixed origin, like being Eritrean, Ethiopian. And I think that in itself has not created a divide, but that means I think we sometimes see ourselves, I say we as a collective, different to other black people or different to other Africans. And I found it really difficult. I remember being 5 and going to Eritrea and Ethiopia, but because of the famine, I actually lied to my friends in primary school, and I was upset. I lied and said I went to Egypt because the plane went via Egypt and we did spend a few hours there.
1-2 hours.
I lied because there was... I lied. No, but I lied because there was the famine. Like I was 5 and I knew about the Ethiopian famine and how people perceived Ethiopia and Eritrea at the time. And my mum was like, well, what did that experience teach you? Never lie about who you are and where you're from. Absolutely. And that was a lesson to learn. I was in tears because they were doing this and they were doing like Egyptian mummy dance. And that taught me quite quickly at a young age. But then equally I was conflicted because West African children would tell me I wasn't African. I'm like, but Eritrea and Ethiopia is in Africa. And so my parents were teaching me I'm from Africa.
Hold on right there. Why do they believe we're not African?
But I think it's to do with our features. So we're Semitic. Obviously, there's that as well. So we originate from the Semites, whether it's from Menelik and he was son of Solomon and Sheba, etc. Whatever. But so I think some of our history, also our features are slightly different. And also the main tribe being Eritrea that is widely known as the Tigrinya tribe. Yep. So we don't think about Kunama, we don't talk about some of the other tribes that are rich in culture, because I think Tigrinya tribe, if I'm not mistaken, is the biggest tribe in Eritrea. But there are other tribes that we should amplify and that don't get necessarily the love. And if they do, it's like Bilen, because they've got wicked, I love Bilen culture. But they've got, there's beautiful culture in Eritrea. There's those 9 tribes and we obviously reference them, but they're not referenced when we think about Eritrean people and that look, the nose, the features and stuff like that. So also, I think colony plays a part in it. So there's this colonial mindset, and not too dissimilar to other countries that have been colonized, like in India, where in Eritrea, I think I was saying earlier to you, if you're good looking, but you're dark skin, and I'm saying, but you're dark skin, because to reference what they say, they'd be like, oh, which is what I'm saying. There is, she's good looking. It's just a shame she's dark skinned. Yeah. It's colorism, and we have xenophobia. So I think we've got colorism in Eritrea, and we also have xenophobia. So xenophobia being that we shun other people from African countries. And I know in Ethiopia it's slightly different, because Ethiopia was technically never colonized. They have this, we're better than anyone anyway, and they've got a rich history. And with us, I think colonism has taken part. It's mad to think that I used to go, and I think I've been there with Futsum, went back in the day, Casa d'Italia in Eritrea, and it's a coffee place in Asmara. And I used to go there when I was 14, right? From 2004 maybe to 2001, right? And my dad was never allowed to go to Casa Italia when he lived in Eritrea. Hold on. Not because of his complexion, but because...
Inside Eritrea?
Yeah, there were places in Asmara. My dad went to Scuola Italian. Yeah,
so but he was not allowed to go to the coffee shop.
Yeah, we don't know this, and this is what's mad. There is history that young Eritreans we don't know. We had our own segregation in Asmara, so they call Asmara Piccolo Roma because it was built by the Italians, and Mussolini created this space, and that's why you had plantations. I have family through marriage who are Italian, and then ended up being mixed race. But it's mad. They had their own plantations in Asmara, like some of them on the new road to Massawa, and I know this because my dad's through marriage, my great granddad is Italian, like he's white, but like he married, they never had children, but still they did. And so, and the whole reason Asmara, Eritrea, was basically like a holiday home for the Italians. That's why they built the road to Massawa, and they built the train for Rovia.
Very important. A lot of people don't know that.
But there were places we couldn't go. I only know this because my my dad worked on Forovia. He was a civil engineer. My granddad worked on there on my mum's side. And then my granddad's, you know, like I have that history and that connection. But it's mad. There were places that we couldn't go in our own country. And this is the whole point of the colonial mindset. Like my granddad's generation, actually, some of them appreciated the Italians. Like one of my granddads went to Libya to fight for the Italians, to fight and claim Libya. They fought their war. He was a tailor. He used to make the suits.
So they fought for the Italians to go to Libya.
Yeah. Because obviously there is the colonies, the Italian colonies are Somalia, Eritrea and Libya. And I think, those are the 3 colonies that they managed to successfully. I think the English took the rest or whatever, and it's French and whoever else. But there are places in Eritrea that we couldn't go. And I guess coming back full circle to what I was talking about was to talk about colorism and that colonial mindset. Like in India, light-skinned people are perceived to be good looking. In Eritrea, it's the same. And also I think that plays a part into why we don't necessarily, I think this younger generation see themselves as black, but our parents' generation probably didn't. And some of that seeped through. And even now, I'm not going to lie, sometimes when I think about some young Eritrean guys that are my age, I remember looking at them and thinking they have a type. It's light-skinned Eritrean girls with like loose hair, like and even hair is a thing. And when we think about Eritrean beauty, and when I think about men that are like, oh, you Eritrean girls, Ethiopian girls are the most beautiful women in the world, I'm thinking, and I've had this from men from West Africa, from like mostly African guys, other African countries. And I'm like, oh, well, what about your sister? What about your mum? She's beautiful too. And I actually think a lot of the pictures that are circulating on Instagram, like there's some amazing pages that are amplifying Habesha women, but they are a certain type of Habesha woman that with the light skin, soft hair. And I'm not going to lie, Eritrean girls, Ethiopian girls are bad. They look good. We definitely got that. I mean, the brothers look good too, but the girls have it in abundance. The girls have it in abundance.
I'm saying nothing.
What can you say? Your wife will tell you. She'll cuss you if you say it otherwise. But we have it in abundance. But I think we should also be mindful about what we're putting out there. And also, one of my friends, she's a good friend of mine, her and I were talking about how we were disappointed that a lot of Eritreans, we didn't see a lot of Eritreans come out for Black Lives Matter. We didn't see a lot of them campaign and say, look, there were some, but not in our. I sometimes think, which isn't a bad thing, but I think we come out for Eritrean issues more than we do the collective black issue. Yeah. But in England, yes, we're from Eritrea, but we're black. Yeah. So the same systemic racism that other black people face, us as Eritreans will face that as well in the workplace. And so that's really
I think sometimes as Habesha people collectively, we don't appreciate what was open for us before we came here, the West Indies. Yeah. All these black people, what they had to go through. We cannot just, I'm thinking to myself, do you know what? They've done so much for us to be here. We should appreciate that. We should acknowledge how black we are. So to me, I get surprised when they go, I'm not black.
We're very nuclear. I think we like to stay in our little bubble. Yeah. And I think which isn't a bad thing, because I think we're trying to hold on to the culture. But, you know, I've had situations where like one uncle was like, oh, or whatever, but no, that's the colonial mindset right there. Or like that's just a colonial mindset. Education, that's a lack of education. And also I think, like, for me, maybe I'm privileged because I say this because my mum worked in the NHS. Her closest friends at work were Ghanaian, Nigerian. So my mum learned how to make jollof rice from day. My health visitor is for 35 years ago, my age. She's still my mum's best friend till now. And so she taught my mum how to make jollof rice. I went to a pan-African Saturday school, which taught me about Martin Luther King. It taught me about Malcolm X. It taught me about Black Panthers. And I learned that stuff. So I learned, I'm Habesha, but I'm also black. And the two can coexist, because actually you're not one without the other. So I identify as being African because Africa's rich in culture and we play a big part in that culture, but equally we can't exclude ourselves because geographically we're African. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm proud to be East African because we also have our own collect. But also, I remember being Eritrean, Ethiopian, or being Eritrean, and we'd be like, Somali people, like, we're not the same. But I'm like, but I think we're changing now, and I'd like to think that we're changing and we're more Pan-African, or we're more aware that actually Africa is rich in history.
You know what, we're part of that. You see, those people, those Habesha people, don't believe that they're black, right? Yeah. They go for a job interview or whatever they're going to fill up the application for. Normally it goes Asian, black African, black Caribbean. What are they ticking?
I don't know.
Do you ever think? What are they thinking?
Other.
There's no Habesha.
Other, maybe Habesha. No, but I don't. But even Habesha, like I think Arab people call us Habashi. So when I've gone to Egypt, they're like Habashi.
Yeah.
And you go to Egypt and you see people from Aswan. I'm like, whoa, you are me. I am you.
Yeah.
I met some guy who was like, oh, my mum is Habashi and she's also she's Egyptian. Like he was Egyptian and Habesha, and. Yeah. Like, and we're everywhere like that. Even if you think about Rashida, they're nomadic people who stem from Saudi Arabia or Arab countries, and they would have come all the way around. Like Eritrea, like Habesha people are, we are not like we're a bit chameleons because we could be a bit from that. We look a bit like that, and I think that speaks to our history. And I think my wish for Eritrean people would be that one, we identify more, and I think it's, as I said, culture's changing. So I think more now we do. I think our generation, my generation, I'd like to think identifies black. I still think we do sometimes stay in our pockets. I don't know if that's more like the mandem staying, like the Eritrean boys and the collective stay together more. And I don't know if it's through work and through certain circumstances that like as a girl you're more likely to have to work in different spaces and therefore have friends from different communities, and therefore you're exposed to more of that. But I'd like to think my one wish is that we learn more about our history that sits outside of politics, and also our place in Africa as from that region of East Africa, but equally that we embrace pan-africanism. And that I think
But how can we do that? Let's just say if Magda had the power, right, teach people or let them know how it should be done, how?
So I'd remove politics from the equation.
Yeah.
Because I think politics, I don't mean to get political, but I'm going to get political. I think we can't have opinions only on our own politics and not have opinions on the world, because this kind of bugs me a little bit. Like, and this goes back to the whole being black and etc. Is like, I think Eritreans have strong views, and some of those views tend to only be about Eritrea and Eritrean politics. And I appreciate we've got to care about our country. I'd like to see more people caring about the people. I'd also like to see more people caring about black issues as a whole, because also we live in the UK. So the reality of it is, what are you doing for Eritreans in this country? Or what are you doing what are we doing? Like,
we're creating Habesha connection.
Yeah. But if I could, I would wish we had and I'd actually, maybe we should do this, is like have a mentorship program for young Eritreans who aren't sure what they're going to study. Yeah. And actually they might have questions about, basically, or some kind of like peer-to-peer thing where like even a peer-to-peer, or even if it's actually, they do have this other thing, I've forgotten what their Instagram is called, but it's like Eri diaspora kind of thing, and it's connecting people. But more of that, we need to hear more of stories of other Eritreans who are doing it big, and create that space that the youngins can come talk to us, because I didn't have anyone to tell me what to do with music.
We didn't have a hero.
We didn't have someone to look up to. Yeah. And obviously everyone goes on about Nipsey Hussle because he's kind of like the biggest Eritrean person that is out there that we know, which is amazing. Obviously, rest in peace. But just like the regular businessman.
Yeah, absolutely.
The lecturer, the whatever.
But that's you. That people like you that been there. Someone could be right now. A young person could be into music, right? You've been there, you've done it, you've got the experience. It's a knowledge that you can pass on to the next person.
Yeah.
This is where we get the opportunity to put someone like you here. You know what? Like, we'll put your detail here and they can contact you.
Yeah, 100%.
This is what we need.
Yeah. And I'm always like, even if people want to come work where I work, I'm always trying to tell people, yes, here are jobs, come, like, be it, see it, and then you can become it. And sometimes I think, I guess going back to the point about being more Pan-African, I think there are some amazing pages out there that you can go look at, but books is important. Learn about the history about other black leaders that aren't just Idris Awate, who was obviously amazing, but learning about Africa as a whole and not just Eritrea in isolation is important, and learning the history of that continent, but also other black leaders, be it in America, that other leaders that are pioneering, and also people in the UK. Like when I grew up, my mum gave me, and it was my mum's white friend Katie, who's still my mum's friend now, she gave me a book of poetry by Benjamin Zephaniah. And he's a big person to know because he said no to the OBE. He was like, I don't want that. And that validation doesn't come from the Queen. It doesn't come from, him and Skepta and George the poet. George the poet. And also it's because we're not validated by you know, by by white people, and the same by Italian, you know, that whole Italian muscle concept or whatever, or you know, I don't know, but I'm saying a lot here, but essentially, I think to know who you are, you've got to know where you're from. Absolutely. That's important. That's your foundation.
If you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of where I would leave it. Yeah. It's 100%.
No, it's if you could have the power, right, to change anything in this world, what would it be?
Sometimes going back to our community, we look for validation from people, and I think it's because that's been ingrained in our culture, like, oh, but comes to Gabriel, like that keeping up with the Joneses kind of vibe. Yeah. And actually, I think we should just own who we are, and like, yes, such and such is doing that. That's cool for them, but I'm doing me. Absolutely. And doing me looks different to different people. Yeah.
No, I loved it. If there's anything you can give a message to our community, what would it be?
Oh, wow, what would it be?
You've seen it growing up, London, Habesha community. You went to Eritrea, you've been around the world. What message would you give for our youth, our future, or for our oldest? What would that be?
I would say, I think one of the things I'd say is you're not a tree, move. So if you're not happy with your current situation, remove yourself from that, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your current circumstance, like you hold the power. And if there's one thing that I think our family have taught us and that generation has taught us, that is, you know, make the most of the opportunity that you have here. Like, you only limit yourself. You're only as limited as you're thinking. And so that's the point in terms of, like, if you're not happy with your circumstance, remove yourself from it, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a course that you're doing. If you don't want to do that, then you hold the key. And don't be limited to other people's perceptions of who you can be. You can be anything and you want to be. Nas said it best. I know I can be what I want to be. If I work hard at it, I'll be who I want to be.
That's right. I want to thank you for taking your time out to come and visit us. And we're gonna hopefully put your details here. Anybody want to contact you for anything?
Yeah, no sliding in my DMs. Projects at the moment, I'm not doing music. I am doing a lot of DIY.
So we'll be doing music hopefully soon.
I'm doing a lot of DIY at the moment, and I'm telling women to do more DIY and get a drill, because I think I'm all about empowering.
If you want to know how to do DIY, contact Magda right here, right? That's what we gotta do.
I'm all about empowered women, empower women. So I'm all about my sisters, be it Eritrean, be it Ethiopian, be it non-Habesha. I'm all about the sisters, and I'm all about just empowering and amplifying voices yourself at work. That's what I do, trying to make sure people can come and be themselves, and I'm being myself unapologetically, and I encourage other people to do the same.
Lovely. My African queen, Habesha queen, thank you for coming. We appreciate for taking your time. I beg you, give her before we go, what we do in this show is we always ask our guests, if you can pick any Habesha tune that gives you a vibe, any tune, right? What would it be? Anything.
Oh, don't get me doing my sister, my shum.
Anything. What that tune would be.
I have two.
All right.
Oh, right, you got to help me pick then.
Go on, go for it.
All right, so it's either Ababa Haile, Hati Tomini, because that's a bad tune, letting them know where I'm from. I'm really, really from. Or...
Where you from?
where you from? Or it's Teddy Afro, which is Ababa Yoho. So you got to help me out. Ababa Yoho, or the other one, which is Hati Tomini.
You know what? I'm sure we're going to have you back again.
All
right?
Yeah.
So pick which one you think that you can go.
Wait, what am I going to get here doing mine? All right, they both got long intros. But yeah, let's run the track. Let's go with Ababa Yoho.
All right. DJ S Boogie, a residential DJ.
My Eritrean people, I still rep Eritrea.
Yeah, no, this is just a tune. Everyone that comes here and pick up.
This is my tune.
Woo!
Right, you ready for the drop?
Are you ready?
I might have to take off my little cardigan.
Right, we ready for this one?
Here we go. Right, ready?
Right, yeah. Woo!
Right, you ready?
Yeah.
Shoulders. Right, ready?
Ababa Yeho, Balingeroche, Kumubelechara, Inchasabne, Betis Kusara, and Quan Betina, Yelling Mate, አጣለው ኮኮብ ስቦጥ ወበል ማሲንቆ ወበል